Hey everybody, let's talk about polyrhythms today. So I know that word can be intimidating in certain situations, but I want to try and break it down how I like to think of them today. There's actually more or less of a formula that you can plug into any polyrhythm ratio and you'll get the quote-unquote mathematical result of what it should sound like. Let me explain that quickly. Let's start with one that we are pretty familiar with, I think most of us. Let's say 3/2. So that sounds like this, you know? It's used in all sorts of 6/8 styles all the time. Those kinds of feels is very common. So again, 3/2. What that means is, let's think of it as a fraction, right? So 3 we're gonna call our numerator, 2 we're going to call our denominator, and for simplicity's sake, for consistency's sake as well, let's say 2, the denominator, is going to be quarter notes. So every example we talk about today is just going to be quarter notes as the denominator. So that means 3 notes over 2 quarter notes, 3 evenly spaced notes, right? So that first number 3, the numerator, what it means is we're going to be dealing with triplets because of the number 3. What the number 2 means, not only is it the denominator for 2 quarter notes of length, it's also going to be an accent pattern when we talk about the triplets. So that means we're going to accent triplets in groups of 2. That's what 3/2 kind of boils down to. So if I'm thinking triplets over quarter notes, now I want to accent every 2. So 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. That's how we get the basis of that polyrhythm. Then what you do is take the non-accents away. So what was this? Sometimes I still like to silently play the accents, maybe on my knee or just in the air, just to keep myself honest and get that, true feel of it. But that's what it boils down to. One other thing that you should keep in mind is, let's say we flip that fraction, so to speak, that polyrhythm ratio around. So instead of 3/2, now we're going to do 2/3. So let's take the same little formulaic explanation we just talked about. So 2 being our numerator now, that means we're going to be dealing with 1/8 notes. 3 being our denominator, that's going to mean 3 quarter notes, and it's going to be accenting the 1/8 notes in groups of 3. So now 1 2 3 1 2 3 1. So the reason that 3/2 versus 2/3 sounds different right now is because I'm playing one on a snare drum and one on a bass drum. If I were to play them on let's say two rim sounds, two over three and 3/2, however, whichever one you think of, they don't really sound different at all. It all depends on what your reference point is, right? In this case, it was our quarter note. So the first example, 3/2, this was our quarter note, right? In the second example, 2/3, that was our quarter note. It's a faster quarter note, but again, it's all about the reference point. If I had no reference point and I just played those back to back, they would actually pretty much sound the same. The reference point is very important. Let's take one that's a little more complicated now. Let's do 5/3, okay? So we're gonna do our same formula filling in, so to speak. Because it's 5, the numerator, we have to think quintuplets this time, not triplets, but quintuplets. So let's pre-establish our quarter note that I'm making up ahead of time. So this is our quarter note on the bass drum. Now we have to think quintuplets, every single one of those. 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5. And again, the denominator, so to speak, 3, not only does it mean over 3 quarter notes, but it also means accenting quintuplets in groups of 3, right? So now that becomes something like this. I take those accents away, that was a 5/3 polyrhythm I was just playing. Obviously this stuff takes some practice, takes some getting used to, but just like anything, muscle memory does eventually kick in. Might take a little longer because it is more cerebral, kind of intricate stuff. But one little tip you can think of is if you're thinking in those fives, you can sort of commit to memory where the accents are going to fall. If you count each one to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5/3, for instance, the accents fall on 1, 4, and then the next 2 and 5, and then the next 3. So what I mean is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, if you're thinking that way. So that's kind of a memorization little quick trick you can use. But again, eventually these they're not natural feeling. It's not like playing, that's not really a polyrhythm, right? Because it's 2 to 1. That's like a whole ratio, so to speak. It's not like a quote unquote fraction, right? But eventually, if you think of it this way, I think you can still kind of at least make sense of the polyrhythms. You might not, play them on your next dance band gig or anything like that, obviously, but nevertheless, it's a fun way to kind of like conceptualize them. Let me know if you have any other questions with that. Feel free to leave a message. Hope you enjoyed this discussion. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much.